Brody, and everybody watches accesstv.org. Peace.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Do it like this. Ba-boom. Ba-boom. Do it like that. Yeah. Ba-boom.
This is Jonathan Small, hosting the Small Report. Today is August the 31st, 2012. Broadcasting live from accesstv.org studios in downtown Hartford. Very nice summer day. Hope everybody in the community is enjoying this particular weather. I know we're broadcasting all over the world, but basically here in New England, we're enjoying some real nice summertime weather. And you better enjoy it, because maybe 3 months from now we could be going into December and you might be regretting the fact that you didn't appreciate the nice summertime that you've had. Basically, there's some issues going on locally, nationally. Obviously, Mitt Romney has been nominated the Republican nominee. He will be going up against President Obama this up and coming November. And he made one statement that drew a lot of attention, that he has a plan to create 12 million jobs. Pretty much President Obama had issued the same statement. He's being criticized for not being able to live up to that, and that's a real high goal, that when you advocate a plan that you're going to create that amount of jobs, and you're telling people that if you do create that amount of jobs, everything could be changed towards our economic outlook. But again, that's a big task to try to implement, and one way or the other, our country needs to be in a better position to create more jobs. I will kind of address that into some other issues. Locally here in Hartford, we had a senseless homicide this past week. Man, Johnny Armstrong, was found beaten to death here in the North End section part of Hartford. Basically, the person that killed him has been arrested, and today at 6 o'clock at 710 Albany Avenue, the Reverend Henry Brown and the Mothers United Against Violence will be having an anti-visual rally. And I think that's something that everybody in the community needs to try to show some support. It's this particular person's family today. It could be your family tomorrow. And that's kind of what I want to get into today, is the meaning and the topic of what it takes to have a strong family. I think we might underestimate the family structure. We might take it for granted. We might assume that everybody in this country and the society could be blessed with a normal, traditional family. I know in the past, when I used to do television programs back in the 50s, you used to always see the stay-at-home mom raising the 2 and 3 kids, where the dad is going off to work, a nice home, green grass, picket fence. And that was the image of the so-called American family going into the 50s, particularly through television. And I don't know if that's the real true definition of a family. I think it takes a lot more than just one particular image, but I know one thing is very important in society and life, to have a solid foundation, and your family should be the nucleus of the foundation. If you're not blessed to have even biological members of your family in order, it would be nice to have an extended family. I think the community would also be good to have, where you can kind of feel comfortable with your next door neighbors. You can kind of rely on each other whenever there's something that's in need. I remember growing up as a child, everybody on my street, we all knew each other. From one end of the street to the other end of the street, there was a sense of social interaction. Everybody seemed to look out for each other. And I don't say things quite look the same today, and that's kind of the sad part about where we're at. I don't know if there's so many factors that you can look into that could kind of contribute towards the changing. I don't want to say the family structure has completely eroded, because that's not a fair acquisition. I mean, you might have some of the best families, some of the best communities that exist across our country. Sometimes that's not really being promoted the way it needs to be at. But I think the family structure, we need to understand, the importance of having a strong family because it contributes to so many factors of how your children can be raised properly, how they can interact in society, how you can be a model of showing a community what is really valuable and important. I think sometimes if we get caught up into the materialistic aspects of a family, well, you got to have a nice big house, you got to have 2 and 3 cars, you got to be able to take vacations all over the world, you got to be able to send your children to the best private schools, you got to be able to dine out in fancy restaurants, you got to have all of your disposable money invested in the proper way. I think somewhere along the line, that's so-called the new image of the American dream. I think we've kind of forgotten the fact that the family used to be the part where everybody would sit down and eat dinner together. You would have the one day of the moment where you would have some type of conversation because most likely the man is off in the morning time trying to punch in, and the mother's trying to get the children ready to go to school. And the time the children come home from school, the dad is still not home, the mother's still getting supper ready. So you would kind of assume at 6 or 7 o'clock, the whole family would be all at once, sitting down, finding out how the day has went, and pretty much having a good, thorough conversation and enjoying a good meal. That's still a challenge today to find out, is that family nucleus the way it used to be exist. You can hear so many horror stories about the single mom. Mostly that's what you hear about, raising the children. The father's not really in the picture. Many families don't even talk to each other. They just come in, you come out. You basically don't have a commitment towards each other. You're just going through the motions. And that's not the true meaning of what a family was supposed to be. But, I don't want to make excuses for any particular circumstances without having all of the facts in order. But, if a mom is struggling to do the best she can do, and at times there's no support for her, and we think now that we can pass the family structure off to grandparents, to the Department of Social Service, to DCF if there's a major problem within the family, for law enforcement. There's so many ways to pass the buck, but you got to start to look at what is it going to take to really have your family in order if those outside sources are not available. Yes, if there's some major problems at times, you do have to turn to other assistance. You can't kid yourself. You can't think that you can do everything on your own. But I just think as a society, when you hear the president nominee talking about he will create 12 million jobs, you don't hear much about the family structure. Is these jobs going to be the solution to put the family and put the country back in order? It's a major piece of the family structure. You need a bread earner. You need disposable money. You need to have a way to pay your bills. So when he talks about 12 million jobs, that's extremely important. When you hear Reverend Henry Brown here in Hartford talking about it's time for the community to get behind their organization, to take a stance of what's going on the streets, to try to figure out, what's the best way that we can fix some of our problems that we have. That's a real tremendous part of trying to put the family structure together the best way many times that he and his organization knows how to do. But it's still going to be a challenge to look within to say, what is the best way to get off to a good start? It's kind of difficult in times when you allow your family structure to really get out of control. You can hear the horror stories of, abuse, neglect, no proper direction. And then you're trying to pick up the pieces and put everything back together. I'm not telling anybody to throw in the towel and give up on your family structure, but sometimes, reality is reality. Sometimes couples do have to get a divorce. Separation is sometimes needed. That's not the true intention of God, was to have the man and wife be divided, but sometimes that's just the way it is. You can't live together. You can't function together. It's not to the best interests of yourself and your family. You have to come to a common solution. And I think before it gets out of control, where we have a lot of major problems with domestic violence. That's certainly one of the biggest issues that I think many people are starting to see, mostly men abusing women. This is not a good sign of a good family. So we can get caught up into the numbers. Maybe we have 70 to 80% of our families in complete order, where you have two parents running the household, the children is getting good education, they are a vital part of society, they're behaving themselves in according to the law. But then if you have 20% that's causing a lot of damage, a lot of neglect, a lot of abuse, it's like a cancer that can probably spread and it affects other parts of society. One source might take its problems out on jealousy of seeing another family looking so much better than your own family. I mean, there's so many ways you can look at it. There's a lot of problems that can bother the family members, and then they just be more destructive instead of trying to figure out the best way to either fix the problem or try to move away from the problem. So I think the family structure has to be something that needs to really be examined, and the proper planning ways to make a family and to make the family better. I would say having the plan to create 12 million jobs would be something I would advocate. I mean, in any particular community, if you can have strong economic development, a good school system, a good sense of civil order, a good fiscal government, that's one piece of the puzzle. But at some point, even the members that have the good jobs, have the good schooling, have the good options of particular recreational activities to choose from, you still got to do your part, and you still got to try to make the whole family work. And then you got to try to extend a helping hand to your brother's keeper, your next door neighbor, to try to be that brother's keeper role model in society if people buy into that. So the family structure, I mean, despite everything that I have been discussing, this is actually now we'll be going into the third month, come next month, of doing the small report. This is a real important solution towards our society issues. And I think when you find a way to really realize how important it is to have a family, and if you do have your family intact, you need to be very blessed and thank God for that, because there's just so many cases that you could look into where so many families are in disarray. It's not a major numbers, but when the numbers exist, it's the major problem. I mean, you talk to this members of this family that lost their loved one this past week. I don't have all the details and all of the circumstances behind the man being beaten to death, but it has to tell me it's not a good sign, even at that one address. Something clearly was not working. I don't, again, have all the details, but I think the family members had to know that something along the way was causing a lot of problems. And now you find a man being beaten to death and killed, and now family members are looking for answers. What caused this? What went wrong? What could have been done? I mean, I don't want to put words in family members' mouth, but I think you have to realize when you have a major chaos or a tragedy like this, then it just didn't happen to me all at one time. It had to be a process that led up to this particular point. So I think on one hand, Mitt Romney, yeah, I wish him the best if he becomes elected president. I still wish President Obama the best if he can create these jobs, if he gets re-elected. But the job piece, again, is just one form of the solution of putting the family together. It's a very important piece. Might be up there in the top 2 or 3 pieces of putting the family together. But you can look around our country and see families that have money, homes, disposable income, good jobs, careers, all of the alternatives. There might still be some serious problems within. So there's all different ways to look at it. Actually, during this whole program, I didn't even get into the religious aspects of the family. And maybe that might be a good topic for a next show, because I talked about everything else to put the family together, but I left out God, I left out the religious faith-based initiative, and that could be a good topic for another program. Again, this is Jonathan Small doing the Small Report today. Had a very nice day getting down here, enjoying the weather. Look forward to being back here next week. Eventually, like I mentioned yesterday, I will be going to corner more of a report format, giving local, national, and international segments throughout the Small on Report online. You can be seeing this program through accesstv.org Monday through Friday from 12 o'clock p.m. to 12:15 p.m. And I just hope people out there today was able to pick up on something that I talked about. I don't know your definition of a family, how important you value a family, but it is something we need to have in our society. So again, this is Jonathan Small doing the Small Report, and to the next time I see you, I wish everybody out in the internet access audience to have a very blessed day. Again, thank you for listening to this particular program. Jonathan Small, ending the Small on Report.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Do it like this.